Hello everyone, welcome to the today's lecture. In this lecture, we will start the object-oriented programming. So we'll mainly focus on the basic terminologies of the object-oriented programming in this lecture. We'll discuss what is class and how we can create object of the class. We'll also see what is the use of the constructor and there is types of constructor. At the last, we'll see what is access modifiers like private, protected, and public. Yeah, let's start with what is object-oriented programming. So you can see that object-oriented programming is a style of programming style that can deals with the objects and the classes. Right? What is an object? So in the world, you can see that everything is an object, right? So every entity is just represented as an object. Let's take student is an object, book is an object, right? And yeah, car is an object. So when you are building some real world applications, you are dealing with the real world entities, right? So this is what why we need a object oriented programming here. So I will be explaining with some scenarios why we actually need object oriented programming. Yeah, let's start. Yeah, let us take example of a student management system. Student management system, right? So I will be taking example to explain why actually we need a object oriented programming here. So let's so in student management system I will be having three entities, that is student, teacher, and third one is courses, right? So every there is a student who is having the teacher who is having his course name, and he's also having the roll number and marks, all those things, right? So if I don't have any container that can store the data of the individual student, so there are 100 students, right? So let's say if I want to create 100 list of 100 size, so the first list will be storing the details of the, let me correct it. Okay, you can see that this is a list which is storing the names of all the 100 students. This is the list which is storing the course name of the all the students from this, in this list, right? You can, yeah, you can create all the list for the all these things. Like for the teacher, you will be having all this, the list that can store the teacher of the, this is student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, and so on. So for the student 0, I will be creating writing storing student name here, course of the student here, teacher name here, and I will be having a lot of lists like that. Student can have roll number, student will have marks, and so on. So this is how you can see that this is very complex, right? And again, you need to have teachers. You need to create all these lists for the teacher. So the teacher is also having a student though, for which teacher is teaching, and the teacher is also having course that teaching to the student. And so this, all the details should be stored in this list. So, and again, if you can go for the courses, you need to have all these things again. So you can see that this is a very complex, right? You cannot maintain for the large data sets. Like let's say if I got the 1,000 or 10,000 or 1 lakh in lakhs, you cannot handle all these things in the list. And you can go for this index and you can find the teacher name, again you can find the course name. It's more complex and you cannot have this in application. So in, basically in the industry, they definitely everyone is following object oriented programming. That, so what if I can represent everything as a container? Let's say let's say this is as one container, right? So the student has one container. So this is a container that can store name of the student, what roll number of the student, marks of the student, course name, teacher, right? So these are the things the container can store. So for the same, for the teacher, there is a container that can store all the details, and there is another container that can store all the details of the courses, right? This is, it looks something good, right? For the previous one, so I can store all these containers in one of the data structure. Is, it might be list or it might be any data structure you want. And I can simply see that if let's say there is 100,000 students, right? So n is equal to 1,000 student. So I can simply go to the student 100, and I can access all the details of the student, like name of the student, roll number of the student, marks of the student, course name. of using that index, right? So this is very efficient than previous code, and it's more readable and it's reusable code, right? Instead of going for the each list and finding the index of the particular value, that could be more complex and you cannot implement this. And in this the main advantage of the object oriented program is we can reuse the code, and it's more readable, right, and easy to maintain also. There is no more complex things you can observe here, so it's very easy, like you can find a lot of things in each container. Okay, we got that what is object oriented programming, why we need it. And let's move to the next one, that is class and objects. So a class is just like a blueprint that is defining the behavior and what actually a object is needs. Let's say there is a student, I'm saying that student is an object, right? So student, there is a student, 100 students, so s1 s2 and s2, so these are represented as an object, so right, s2 s3 s4 s5, so everyone is represented individual object, and for each object, for all these objects, so there could be a lot of common behavior and common properties which they will having, so that I will be representing as this container, right? So every student is having name, roll number, marks, course, teacher, and I will be yeah, this is simple template and some container that can having the properties and behavior of the of the all the students. And this is called for each I will be creating this is an object one, object two, these are called the objects, right? Yeah, we got that what is class is. So we'll create object is, so this is a car class, so this is an object name, so this is how we can create an object using new keyword, right? So the fields inside this class, there is a name, roll number, marks, courses, teachers. So these are called the fields of the class or behavior, or you can say properties also. Okay. So we'll learn what is class and what is object. So we'll see what how we can create a class, right? So there I've already created one of the student class that will be having details of the student, like name of the student, roll number of the student, marks of the student. So this part might be little confused for you because this is an constructor. So I will be explaining in the next slide. So just create an object of the class. I'm created one student. So that the student is having properties name, roll number, marks, right? I want to initialize this variable. I will be using the constructor. We will discuss what is constructor, right? And I just want to know the names of the name of the student, roll number of the student, marks of the student. So I will simply go into the test class. So I will be creating an object of the student. Let me keep it as student one, right? So I just want to initialize that. It will be taking three parameters, that is name of the student and roll number and marks is 45. Yeah, this is the one way of creating an object and to pass the variable inside the constructor to initialize the values. Let's say if I want to print the details of name of the student, right? Student one dot get name. You could observe that it definitely giving the name as Ram, right? So in this case, Ram, right? So this is the one case, and you could see that yeah, this is the one. Again, if I want to get the marks of the student one, get marks or anything, you can write all the methods inside that student class, whatever you want. Yeah. So let's say if I want to create another student, right? So I will be creating object of this same class. So there is another student that is and roll number is 2 and marks is 50, right? This is a second student. I can have n number of students, but you can see that the class is just like a blueprint that is representing that the student is having these properties or behaviors. You could have definitely provide some methods like student is present or absent, student is passed or fail inside this method for each student. um, right. So this is how I can do same thing again, right? I just want to student dot get name, so you will definitely get the name of J here. Yeah, you can see that. So this is what the class is providing for us. So instead of creating everything in, individually using the list and the variables, so this is just like a container. You can think it's just like a container that can store the behaviors and properties of the student. And using this container, you can create a number of containers, like a number of object of the same container: student one, student two, student three, student n. Right. So this is a way of creating an object inside the class of the class. Yeah, let's move for the next thing. Let's say when you are using the new keyword, it's definitely well known that we'll discuss in the memory management in the string, I think. So when we are creating an object using new keyword, it's definitely going inside the heap memory, right? So yeah, this is an object created heap memory. After using creation of the object, we will be having memory called pool memory, right? Stack memory, sorry. So we will be having stack memory. We'll see how memory management take place in these classes. Let's take this example, car, right? So initially, my let's take some example here. So there is a car as in class, car class. So let's this is a car class that is having some fields here, car name or something. So this is in car one. So this is in car two. This is in car three object. These are the objects, right? So every object is created using new keyword. You can see that. I will be this is an car one object. So this is an car two object stored in the heap memory. This all these objects which are created using new keyword will be stored inside the heap memory. This is an car three object. So inside this all this car, so we'll be having some fields and behaviors, right? So this all these fields and behaviors will be stored in the stack memory, right? Um, Let me write objects stored in heap memory and data variables or data methods, you can say properties and behaviors stored in stack memory, right? So these are the basic memory management that will take place in the classes and objects, right? um let's see. So yeah, let's move to next one, that is constructor. So the constructor is nothing but just like a method that can actually initialize the values present inside the class. It is having no return type, right? It just you can have default constructor, you can have parameterized constructor. There are two types of constructor. In this case, I have a student class that can take some parameters to initialize the values, right? So there is it will take student name, roll number, marks. So that can be so constructor can be called when we create an object. Let's take um go to this test class. You can see that. So this is when we are creating an object, we are passing some arguments or parameters inside this object of the class, right? And this parameters will get initialized here in this to this variable, this values. So this keyword is indicating the current instance. That means let's take we are creating student one, student two, student three. Instead of getting confusion of the all these things, so this keyword is just indicating that this is a current instance. That means of student one or it may be student two. So and you can have a number of methods that can do a lot of things in this class, student class. Yeah. So just see what is default constructor. So default constructor is no need to explicitly create. So this will be called when we automatically when we run our code. So right, default constructor. So default constructor can be called when we run our application. So we no need to explicitly create it. So let's see the example here. So I have created a car class. So that is not having any constructor here. You can see that. When you can see that, so I will be just having a run method that can indicating the car is running or not, and I will be simply creating an object of the car here. So we can see that how we can actually create object new car. So this is how to create an object of the car class. So and you can have a constructor also. Let me do one thing right here. So so public car, this is the constructor name should be same name as the class name, no return type, and it will not taking the any parameters here. So let me do one thing, right? I will be having speed here. So speed, right? So I just want to initialize the speed has some constant value, right? So I just want to keep the speed of all the cars should be as 100 kilometers, right? So this is how it should be helped to initialize the values. So it's not always used when only you will having the parameters here. So if you will not having parameters, you can also use this to initialize some values here, right? You can see, so I'm just initializing speed as 100 here. So let me do one thing here. So public int get speed, right? So this is a method which return speed. You can see that I have created an object of the car. So there is empty default constructor. It means that they are that is not taking any parameters here. I just want to car dot run here. So I will be calling the method run method. So it will be printing car is running here. Yeah, that's the printing. Let's do one thing, right? Let me call that speed method. Car dot get speed. Yeah, we are getting 100 here, right? So this is the use of the constructor to initialize the properties, behaviors, all those things inside the class, right? Mm. So these are the few points. So we already discussed all these points called automatically when object is created, right? Let's move to the next last topic of this lecture. So this is the important one to achieve a lot of things in the object oriented programming. Yeah, this is a public. So we'll you can observe that from the starting of this when we are writing code from the starting. So you could see that this is a public, this is a public, right? So there are some um, access modifiers that could be indicating that what types of scope it is having. Let's say this is an public means it can access anywhere inside this program, right? Inside this program, I mean that this is a DSA with Java is a one set of it's a project that is having a lot of packages inside this one, right? I can access this class outside of any other class. I mean that any of the other outside of the any of the package outside of this package, and you could see that I will tell you that. So let's say this is a car is a public class, right? Let me do private here. I think yeah, you will getting error here. You can see that we are create accessing the student class from the outside of the back outside of the other class. So it should be public because we cannot access the private outside of this class. Yeah, so if you are in the declaring the method using the public or class using the public, so it should be accessed anywhere inside the program. If you are declaring a method or anything with the private data members with the private, they are only accessed inside the class. So if you are declaring the method or data variables with the protected, you are only accessed on the package and subclasses. So if you are not using any of the access modifiers, like if you're not using any of the three, then there is a default. So you can access all these things in the same package. So we'll just demonstrate these things. So let's say I will be having a student class, right? Let's say I have some data like that is secret data. Let me keep the something like I don't want to see the marks of the student. So no one should be access the marks of the student. So I will be keeping this private, right? Private. Yeah, so you can see that this method is cannot access outside of this class. Let me do one thing, right? I just want to yeah, I just want to remove this one. Yeah, yeah, I want to remove this one again. I just want to print this out. Student one dot get marks. So you can see there is no method which is can be accessed outside of that class get marks, because get marks is got access specified private because it cannot access outside of the class. This is how we can say that private cannot access outside of the class. If I will keep it as public, you can access it, right? You can access outside of this class. Right. If you can write the get marks, you can see that there are four methods. Get marks, you can now access, right? Let's see, we done with the public and protected here. There is another thing is that there is data. Let's say this is a is default, this is using default specifier, right? So I will be keeping it as private private, right? You can see that. So these are the methods which are returning these values, so you can access these private values as of now. But let's say yeah, so what I can do is that I will be simply, yeah, so I just want to print the name of the student, so I can do this one, because I can also, this is also allowed, because if it is marked as public, but you can see that it is marked as private. Let me do public once here, and you can see that it can be accessed. Yeah, yeah, you can see that the name is accessed now because name is marked as private now, public now, right? So if you want to get this private data outside of the class, you should have a method that can return these values. So the method should be public methods, so this public method will be return this value, because they are only concerned about these values. They are, right, we are only we just are asking this method to give the name of the student, and this method is simply giving the name. So the name, and I will be writing get name here, so you can see that we can actually access this private data variables outside of the class. So this is how we can actually access the private variables outside. There is another thing is that, so we'll be having protected, right? So this is no, don't want to discuss this one. So you can simply remember these things when you are working on any big project applications. So public is access anywhere, private is only in class. Subclass package, yeah, let's demonstrate the protected here. So let's see how protected can be done. This is oops is a one package, so let me declare one of the class. Let me have some class. Yeah, I will be declaring an example class here, example, right? So yeah, this is a class, um this example class, and you can see that this is a test class. Let's see, can we create an object of the example class inside this class or not? So let's see, the default is marked as we can access in same package, right? So let me create class example, right? That the class name is, let me see the class name I have created some example. So you can see that object is equal to new example. You cannot access this class from outside of the package, you need to import this package, right? So let's say if you were marked it as public, yeah, it's public, but you cannot access this, right? um, you can access, but we will be private value, private into value is equal to 10. Let's see, can we access this value? We cannot access, let's make it as protected. I think we cannot access it, right? We can access the class, public class, from the outside of the package, it's very clear. But let's see, could we access the object dot value here? So you can see that values cannot be accessed from outside of the package, right? There is, okay, this is example class. So the value is the data variable is declared with the protected. So what does the protected is saying? You can see that, so the protected access modifier saying that we can only access the data which is in the same package or subclass. I mean that if you are declared this example class inside this oops package, let me do this one. Okay, you can see that now. Okay, there is an example class, I can't see that. Okay, okay, we got this example class here with using static. Yeah, just remove this one. So so the base, so you can just remember these three lines here. So public can be public. If you are declaring anything with the public, you can access anywhere inside your complete program or a complete project. If you are doing with the private, you can only access inside the class only. If you are using the protected here, you can only use in the same package or subclasses or same package, right? So if I would declare some data variable as, let me declare some variable it as protected here, right? So protected. Let me keep x is equal to 20, right? Int, okay, sorry, int x is equal to 20. Yeah. So if I can actually access that x is equal to 20 here. So let me do that. So which class I have, car dot x. You can print that value, right? If it is protected, you can use in the same package or in same subclass. So this is, yeah, you can get it. So if the data members are declared with the private, you can get this value outside of the class using the public methods. So this standard method, and you could. This is the basic of how we can create an object and how we can access the data variables and properties and behaviors of the class. Right. The another thing is that, could we make the constructor as private? Let's see. We cannot make constructor as private because we can accessing this or initializing this constructor from the outside class, right? So this is not allowed. So this is all about today's lecture. In this, in next lecture, we'll focus on, I think we'll start with the principles of the object oriented programming, like inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction. So these are the helpful to how we can maintaining the code modularity and reusability of the code. Yeah, that's all about today's lecture.